The I Mold You So podcast with Katie Buckland Weiss.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Mold You So with Katie Buckland Weiss. I'm really excited to bring Michael Otto to the conversation today. Michael, thank you for joining.
You bet, my pleasure.
We are going to get into some of the hidden truths around mold illness, as we have in the last several episodes, bringing on physicians, environmental experts, and of course, patients who have suffered from mold illness. The goal of this is really to help folks understand and identify if they are suffering from mold illness. And if you think you are, what are the first steps that you should be taking? And of course, we'll talk to physicians and experts from all different industries. But one of the things that's really important is the environment that you are in. And so Michael comes to us today from GA Environmental. And I worked with GA Environmental when we were going through the process of determining, do we have mold in our home? Is that what is making me so sick? And it turned out it was. So a quick backstory here on Michael and how he came to be a specialist in mold. So he actually became an asbestos consultant back in 2018 and was doing consulting for an organization. And then Michael bought out the company and he became a mold consultant in 2022. He's based in West Texas, and I wanted to bring Michael on here today to talk a little bit or a lot of it about when people call him, why do people reach out to you? And then once they start working with you, what does that look like? So if you could just start at the beginning for me, Michael, how did you get into the mold space where someone like me, so I was referred to you by a general contractor that I knew, and I said, hey, my doctor thinks I'm suffering from mold illness. We've done the air test and it came back with some findings. But now we know we need the experts. We need to really get in here and find out what is happening. So how did you land in this space?
Kind of fell into it because it was an offshoot of the company that I purchased and saw that I needed to become a consultant to be better versed in talking to clients and their needs. We get two types. You get the straightforward, hey, I see mold in my house. I've got a problem. Please come see me. Easy. I mean, if there's visual mold, it's just a matter of determining where the moisture intrusion is coming from that's causing that mold. The harder ones are like yours. There's just something wrong. I don't feel good. I've got all these different symptoms, and they're so varied that I can't pin it down. I think I have mold. So they call us, and it's amazing how often we can find visual mold, okay?
That
It's
the
rare.
layperson might not see, right?
No, you're
Me, a
not going to see
layperson.
it
Okay.
typically. You're not going to see it typically. We know where to look, but we'll go all the way from the roof to the crawl space if we have to locate where the mold is. Now, I want to back up a little bit because people have, I think, misconception. Over 100,000 types of mold already identified. They think it could go up to 1.5 million
Okay.
types of mold in the world. Only about 100 will be in your home. But there's the key. We all have mold in our home all the time. It's a moldy environment. The world is moldy. Leave
Right.
a piece of bread out on the counter for a while. Come back, there's going to be mold growing on it. So we're after not only, we already know there's mold there, but what kind of mold? And there are those that you found are the ones that are most dangerous for people. The very first thing they teach you in mold class is no moisture, no mold. So we have these moldy environments. If you have excess moisture, poor ventilation, high humidity, leaky pipes, these are going to be feeding the molds because the molds are there. They're just sleeping. They're just waiting. They go dormant. Give them moisture and they bloom, and away we go. So it's like a big mystery. It's like a big puzzle. There's something going on here. This person knows there's something going on, but no one can tell them what it is. So then leads you to, could it possibly be mold? So we're going to come in and we can either do an indoor air quality, which we haven't seen any mold, but there's something wrong here. So indoor air quality, we approach it in the same way as if there's visual mold, which we call it an assessment. But part of that is we're going to be, like I said, top to bottom. If we can't find a source of moisture, then we have to go to air testing to see if we have elevated moisture loving molds, excuse me, there's your key, because you should not see elevated moisture loving molds in your home. So even though we couldn't find it, there's moisture.
Now, does the air identify the spores?
Yes.
Or, okay. All right. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Well, I would say 99% of your molds are airborne.
Okay.
They can be brought in other ways, but typically your molds are airborne. And so they will come in, like I said, they're there anyhow. There's moisture feeding them. They colonize, they grow little colonies, and they keep
Mm-hmm.
reproducing. And then, depending upon where they are in the house, the bad ones are yours that get in the HVAC systems.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the common ones we see are clogged condensation pans and HVAC systems. And
Oh, really? Okay.
you've created this beautiful swimming pool for them. They love you. They dive off the diving board and do backflips and go, thank you, thank you. You've given me this wonderful environment to grow in your HVAC system, which
Yeah, I
then,
remember that was one of the first places y'all checked when you
yeah.
came to our house. Yeah.
So it spreads throughout your entire home. Everybody is now affected by it.
Wow.
So it's finding those moisture loving molds, and the ones that you worry about, the bad one, as they say, the black mold, Stactibactrus.
Yes.
Uh, that is the black mold.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other molds that are equally dark. So we
Okay.
get
Show
this,
those.
we always get these calls. I've got black mold. I've got black mold. Black mold is not common, but
Mm-hmm.
the other ones are.
That can
Okay.
still make you
S-
sick, correct?
Yeah.
If you're part
Yeah.
of that 25% of the population that's sensitive to mold, it is not just black mold that can make you sick.
No,
There's around
there's,
100, you think?
yeah, that can live in your home at any one time.
Okay.
So Cladosporium, let's see, Alternaria, these
Mm-hmm.
are both black or very dark molds. Okay.
Okay.
So people mistake them. Again, it doesn't matter what type of mold it is.
They
If you're
can
one of
cause
that
trouble.
25%, you're going to have any number of kind of issues. Interesting one, penicillin. Oh,
Okay.
penicillin, wonderful. Penicillin is the most common mold out there. Okay.
Okay.
But it can make you very, very sick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, depending upon. So the other one is aspergillus, a very common mold. It's very common outside.
Okay.
So we don't expect to see high levels of aspergillus inside your home, or penicillin or any of these moisture loving molds. They're there. They're always there. It's just the moisture feeding them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can't really concern yourself how the mold gets into your home. Mold's going to get into your home. It just doesn't grow unless it has the moisture.
If
So
it's the right environment, then craziness can ensue.
I'm sick. I don't feel good. I can't concentrate. I have headaches. I've got brain fog. My joints ache. I'm nauseated. All of it. And they're so diverse and
Right.
random. So you're going to all these different types of doctors, but they're looking at it in their own specific area, not trying to connect a brain fog with an achy knee. But
Right.
mold
Right.
can cause these things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think there's
All right.
between 13 and 20 symptoms. And if you have up to 6 of them, the doctors who are informed about mold illness will typically say, hey, you have 6 of these, 13 to 20 symptoms, we need to start looking at mold. But
Mhm.
a lot of doctors are not familiar with this concept or
Really?
these protocols. But you're absolutely right. The symptoms, I'm sure you get these phone calls all the time. Like you said, I've got brain fog with a knee, and I called you and I said, hey, it's like I've had a stroke. I'm having all these neurological problems,
Yeah.
nerve damage. I can't remember anybody's name. And when I reached out to you, I was already under the care of a physician that was highly suspicious that I had mold illness. And then, of course, you all confirmed
And
it.
that's what's interesting is we have seen an uptick of people reaching out to us who are being referred to us by a physician because they
Okay.
suspect it. So things are changing for the better for people such as yourself, of course, for us for business, but you know, your viewers, if you suspect it, just call us. That's why
Right.
we're called consultants. We're here to talk through the problem before you start spending your money. It doesn't cost you anything to call me and
Yeah.
discuss. And I heard your symptoms, and it made sense to us based on experience with other people. Yeah. Yeah, I bet you do. Now
Right.
now the mystery begins. Now let's find it. Let's find
Well,
it.
and talk to me a little bit about that. So before we even went to GA Environmental, we did a home test. We did an air quality test and it was lighting up enough. So at that point, we decided, hey, we don't know really where this is or where to start finding it so we can remediate. But we had also, been encouraged to do an ERMI test, but we decided to do an air quality test. My mold detective is what we did. And then that came back telling enough that we're like, we need to bring the experts in. Do you have a preference or any type of recommendation if someone isn't quite ready to go the route of an environmental specialist or they don't know of an environmental specialist in their area? If they were going to do an at-home test, is there one that you could recommend? Do you like ERMI or AIR, or you can't speak to that?
Can't speak to that only for the fact they're competition.
Understood.
I mean,
Okay.
and we get the same thing in the asbestos side too, that people do these home tests.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, did you follow the directions correctly? There's so many different things that can go wrong in personal testing, that how valid are they? And
Right.
so I'm not poo-pooing it or anything like that, but I
Right.
don't pay any attention to them
And you're
because
going to work with the data that you capture so that you
Mhm.
can provide the best consultation and direction for your clients. Makes total
Absolutely.
sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't mind you doing it, but it's not going to change anything that we do. The
Understood.
fact that you've pre-tested, we're going to do our same procedure top to bottom as we always do.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about this. When I was initially working with my physician, he asked me, do you live in an older home? And I said, no, we live in a new build. So, I thought I was in the clear. I know now that was not the case. Now, I was talking to a real estate professional a couple weeks ago, and he's been in the business for 40 years, and he alluded to the fact or the idea that these new build homes were actually creating environments that were more likely to facilitate mold growth
Absolutely.
versus older homes. Talk to me a little bit about that. I'm under the impression that older homes breathe, these new homes don't.
Yes.
What do you know about this?
Okay. Your older homes, a lot of things are going on, but they are so airtight. So airtight.
Older
You
homes or new homes?
New homes.
Okay, okay,
Older homes breathe,
okay, got it.
okay? Air in and out, air in and you're like, "Oh, but I don't want that bad moldy air coming in." No. You get a situation in a new home. It's airtight. Mold develops. It just keeps getting cycled over and over and over. As the mold continues to grow, the problem gets worse. The ventilation is totally different, okay?
Okay.
Another problem with new homes, depending upon how your home was built, but a lot of the homes that we see, they're track homes. They're just popping them up just as fast as they can. Have you noticed that the building materials are laying outside and the
Mm,
rain comes? Do you think as soon as the rain's over, they're building again? As soon
right.
as it's over. So what are they doing? They're introducing moisture laden building materials into a home and sealing them.
Mm,
Hello. We're just
wow.
wait. They're moldy as they bring them in. It just hasn't developed yet because it hasn't been long enough. But the drywall, the wood, it all gets wet, and they immediately seal it inside the walls, and it's just thank you. The mold grows. Okay, it's just sitting there. Then it goes dormant because it doesn't have any more moisture. It's going to use its moisture to grow. It goes to sleep. Then it just waits, and now we get a small roof leak
Mm-hmm.
or a leak under the sink or whatever. Boom, they explode because the
Mm-hmm.
mold already had a full colony. It didn't need to start from the beginning where it had just a little moisture and it goes in there and feeds and grows in a big colony. Oftentimes the colonies are already there.
And
There's your problem.
if you fix the moisture, so the water source, it will go dormant again.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So let me think about this. We're talking about the materials and just being in the space now that I'm in. I've heard some stuff about home builders and the cement that they build the homes on, and that the cement is still full of moisture. And then they start building, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe they put the floor on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that can
Mm-hmm.
be problematic. Are you seeing some of that as well?
Not so much in the cements as we do in the other building materials. Again, going back to the concept that I'm not maybe jumping ahead into the how does the process work, and we'll get back to that. But at the very end, after we've assessed the problem, you've got a moisture issue. The moisture issue has to be fixed. we develop a protocol, which is a design and how to fix or remediate this mold problem. And then you have a clearance on the back end. The clearance on the back end is proof that you no longer have a mold issue based on this wedding event. And it's very clear that on this event. Okay, so we send over the clearance report, and the client wants to see all the mold's gone. No, you don't. It's the air testing is still going to show that you have mold in your home,
Right.
the same molds, but they have now dropped into acceptable levels. What we see in clearance is that those mold levels must be equal to or less than outside air.
Right.
Not that it's 100% 000. No, you're still going to have molds. But we've corrected the problem. We've reduced the problem because you've gotten rid of the moisture. There's nothing to feed it. And then, of course, there's your biocides and the other things that are done during remediation to totally, first they cut it out and then they spray biocides, which are, if there was anything left, it would kill that.
Right.
So there's no mold in that area, but you're still going to have mold in your house.
Well, and really from a person that's been sick from mold, once you remediate, you don't have that overflowing level of mycotoxins in your body that's causing all this craziness in your symptoms and all your systems. It's lowered, and then your body, your mycotoxin level goes down, things start to calm down, and then you can start to heal. So let's go ahead and get into this because we talked a little bit about the remediation process. So let's talk about when GA first comes in, kind of what you all do. Then there's another party that does the remediation, and then you all come back and certify it, in good shape and livable and all of those things. Walk us through that, please.
Okay. So either number one, you've seen visual mold, or you're calling this because you have health concerns, and we call it sick house syndrome. Go ahead.
Michael, I have to interrupt you.
Yeah.
In a home, what are some things I should be looking for under the sink, in my walls that might hint at mold?
Okay. And I'm glad you asked that one because that's a good one, because I'm going to throw one at you that we found in a home and the person never thought of it.
Okay.
Yeah. You look at underneath sinks, bathrooms, oftentimes, the caulking or the grout in your shower pan will develop just tiny. You'd have to really look to see the cracks, and it just takes a little bit of the moisture to move through, and we'll find it with our moisture meters, as we can define the area of the moisture based on those moisture meters by running them on your bathroom floor or your kitchen floor or wherever. We've found how far out the moisture has spread. Well, you're feeding your molds there, but it starts with the phone call, and it's how you feel about your health or the health of your family. You got mold. If you see it, well, you need to get it taken care of. The other side of the coin, which brought you to it, was I'm sick and no one can figure it out. Well, what value do you put on that? Typically in the Lubbock area, for us to come out and do a mold assessment or indoor air quality, if we just can't see the mold, an indoor air quality will run slightly higher because we are forced into taking air samples, and those air samples have to go to a lab and then increase our costs. But typically, your flat fee to do a mold assessment and develop the protocol to take to a remediation contractor is a flat fee of $750.
Okay.
Now, the unknown is what the remediation contractor will charge based on our protocol. Our protocol is going to say, okay, here's what we've discovered, and here's what we're asking you to do. Now, just because we can locate a mold colony, and let's say it's a foot in diameter, you have to cut 2 feet beyond in all directions to make
Yep.
sure you get the entire colony.
Clear margins. Clear
Yeah,
margins.
thank you. Yeah. So those little spores are they have little tendrils. They're growing out. So by going 2 foot in all directions, we know again that we've cut out the colony. But that's just that first part of the remediation. Not only are they going to remove the infected materials, if it's drywall, easy, just cut it out.
Yep.
Then they're going to come in and sand the studs behind because they're going to be contaminated with the mold. Those are all sanded down, and then they come back with a biocide to kill it, and then they encapsulate on top of that. There's no
Perfect.
there's no mold going to be in there at all. But so we've developed the protocol based on your unique situation. So we don't know until we get in there, we assess it, the moisture meters, cameras, heat meters, everything you need. That protocol goes to a remediation contractor.
Okay.
It's your
So a
choice.
third party, you take your
Yes,
protocol and you say, hey,
that's
I
right.
need this resolved, remediated. And for me, I went to 3 different companies
And
and
good.
got
Yeah.
quotes, and they were all pretty within, reason,
Yeah.
close proximity to one another from a budget perspective. But it was your protocol, not theirs. There's no conflict of interest
No,
here.
no.
Yep.
If you're using reputable people that are licensed by Texas Department of Licensing, TDLR, then that's pretty much your assurance that hopefully they're following the state guidelines. And it is that separation of church and state. I don't care who you use. I
Right.
just care that they follow the protocol, which will assure you, the client. We work for you. That's all I care about is you, the client. I don't care about the remediation company. Because if they don't follow the protocol and we come back, the first thing we're going to do when we come to clear it is you do a visual. And if
Mm-hmm.
the visual fails, guess what? Somebody's paying for another clearance test. And it's
Mm,
not you and it's not me, it's the remediation company. If they follow the protocol like they're supposed to, it's going to pass. But
okay. So
did
there's
one
some
just last week?
accountability there. They've got skin in the game. Okay.
Had one last week. It didn't pass visual. They missed an area. It was an honest area, honest mistake, but they missed it. It was underneath a staircase in a basement. And at the very bottom of the tread, at the very bottom, they missed a tread. And there was obvious mold there. And just because of that, we say, nope, we're out, fix it, and we'll come back.
Okay, so this makes me wonder. We talked about visual, right? Visual
Hmm.
cues. There could be mold, but we don't have any. And then you talked about, let's say we don't have any. And then you talked about the moisture meter. And this moisture
Hmm.
meter, there's a couple offerings out there, one that has the 2 little prongs that you put in the wall and you can look at
Hmm.
that. You mentioned maybe a thermometer or a heat cam of some sort. But one of the things that I experienced with y'all is you came right in and you said, hey, have you had any leaks? Had any leaks? Like right off the bat. And it took me a minute to recall, one, because of the state of my health at the time and being, my memory was shot, but also being like, oh, yes, we did up here. And I'm not ever in my attic. I'm not looking
Hmm.
for that. And we didn't have a smell. But if there's not visual cues, if there wasn't a clear water leak, do you use the moisture meter or what other resources you're using? Because it is hard. My children called you guys the mold detectives because
Yeah,
we were having to
I'd say it's
really
a
dig
mystery.
to find the mole. It is a
It's a mystery.
mystery.
Yeah. So again, have you seen any? Make our jobs easy. Just tell us, yeah, oh yeah, we had a leak. So we're going to immediately go and check that area and work from there. Probably the best tool is the moisture meter. And they're
Okay.
very, very highly advanced nowadays. And we will we'll crawl around on the floor in the
Mm,
bathroom and we're seeing if they're within acceptable range. We're running them on walls, I mean ceiling to floors. We're finding, and all it takes is elevated in one area and go, there it is.
yep.
Behind that wall there's something going on. With the homeowner's permission, we have scopes, and it's about an inch hole that we can run the camera behind the walls
Yes.
and look and see, and we can light it up and we can see if there's mold growth on the back of the walls. You didn't think you had it. You couldn't see anything. We couldn't see anything. But that's the last thing we want to do is take air samples. We don't,
Yep.
because it didn't solve the mystery's still there.
Right.
Okay, yes, you've got elevated mold levels,
Where
but
is
where's
it?
the water?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we want. But
And y'all were
moving on.
checking inside and outside of the
Oh
house. It's
yeah,
not just inside.
yeah.
Y'all did a full scope. Okay.
It's
Continue.
not just inside, because we got to figure out where that moisture is coming in. So we'll walk around the houses. Houses will settle. When they were originally built, the grade is away from the house, okay, of the yard. Needs to angle away from the house. But over time, the house has settled. And
Mm-hmm.
now the moisture is running to the house. It is collecting up against the side of the house. And let's say you have a basement. That water just runs down underground into your basement. Now you've
Wow.
got moisture in there. It's the one I was going to tell you about, which is interesting, is it was an office situation,
Okay.
and the employer called us because the employee was sick and was always sick and loved her job and they loved her, but Why was she being sick? They thought maybe it was mold. Get this. She was a plant lover.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And you've got uh, a mold variety called Fusarium that
Okay.
live in the dirt.
Indoor plants. Indoor
Any
plants?
plant. It's
Okay.
just it's a dirt loving mold, but she had her office was covered with plants and she was, susceptible to mold,
Mm-hmm.
She,
Genetic
there it is.
predisposition, all
Yeah.
the things. Okay.
And so we said, you know what? Get the plants out of here. She did. And then life's wonderful again. It's so many
Wow.
different places.
Okay. This is the first that I mean, I've heard a little bit about plants that could be a contributing factor, but I mean, this was the root cause was the plants. Now, is it the plant? Is it the leaves? Is it the
No, it's the
soil?
dirt. It's in the
Okay.
soil. And again, she was in a small office, no windows, just an enclosed environment. So the only air
Oh,
circulating is, okay. So, I mean, she had plants everywhere and
yeah.
keeping them nice and wet, and they would look lovely. And she was growing mold along with her plants and making herself sick. But
Well,
again,
I'm
there's your
thankful
detective.
you solved that
Yeah.
for her and that
Yeah.
she's healed. Curious, and I don't know if you can speak to this. I'm going off script a little bit. Are there certain plants that help detox the air from mycotoxins or that can clear the air from mold? Do you know of any?
That's excellent. No, I don't. And you put a bug in my ear. And when this is over, I'm going to go do some research and I'll get
Okay,
back to you because
let
that
me
is
know.
interesting. I
I
hadn't
want
thought
to
about
share
that
that.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always like to try to identify ways for folks that might be on a really lean budget and trying to
Mhm.
navigate this. Are there some alternatives or resources out there when
Okay.
maybe they can't swing the
And
particular
that's good.
budgets?
That's good because we're going through the process. So we assessed protocol, a remediation company, and clearance. Okay. Clearance is when it's all done. We come back and through air testing, that's the time we do the air testing because we
Hmm.
shouldn't see anything. And we prove that the mold has now reduced. Those moisture loving molds are now less than what's outside. Now, here's the thing. If you yourself, as a homeowner, are handy, or your husband or your brother, you can follow our protocol. You can do it yourself. You don't have to pay the professional.
But there's a but here.
Here's the but. Okay. You don't get the certificate at the end of what's called a CMDR.
Right.
That certificate of mold remediation. Okay. You can hire us to come back out and clear it for you. Okay, and prove it through the analytical testing. You still don't get the piece of paper. The piece of
Yeah, and you're
paper is
going to
signed
need that
off.
piece of paper for many reasons, right? I mean, when you go to sell the house
Yep.
and proof of all of, there's so much in having it done right. But
A
I
peace
think
of mind.
your
Peace of mind.
peace of mind, but also I think your health is going to be the biggest indicator of that. And once that mold is gone, it's testing properly, you have the certification, you will start to see your health improve when
Yeah.
you're
Oh, yeah.
when you're,
No doubt.
okay. Wow. Okay, so talking a little bit about remediation, and I understand you don't do the remediation, but when we were having ours remediated, it was very carefully done. Sealed doors, sealed walls, but I wouldn't have known who to go to. So if someone's working with you, although you don't do the no, although you don't do the remediation, are you able to provide folks with a couple of
Yes.
vendors out there that these are reputable companies? I'm not showing favoritism to anyone, but these are the companies that can do remediation here in town.
Do you want me to go ahead and name these people?
Nope. I just want to know, I want my listeners to know that, hey, if you're working with an environmental, expert, that typically they can provide a couple of
Okay. Yes.
remediation companies
All
for
right.
you.
I always clarify. I don't care. I work for you, the client. You hired me. I don't
Right.
care who you hire, but I have those that experience wise in working with them, we have less clearance failures than with some other companies.
It's a
So
great way to put it.
here are the people that from experience wise go see. Okay.
Okay.
We do the same thing in the asbestos area. Lots of contractors out there, but there are those that we like working with because they do it right. There aren't the headaches, there aren't the problems, and it's a whole different world in mold and asbestos. It's
Okay.
just the way it's done. But in the asbestos world, we have to sit there the entire time that they're doing the project. In mold, we're not. We're not there at all. We're there only on the end to make sure you did your job right. So it's totally different. So it's incumbent on them to follow the protocol. And if you do it and you do your job You're not going to have any problem. Not going to have any extra costs.
Right.
Yeah, we will definitely give a handful, usually 3, call here, here, here. I have my favorites, but I don't, that's only because I know the quality of work they do. They may be, and I'll tell the client, they may be more expensive, but my
I've
experience
had
says
good
they're going to do a
results.
better job. Yeah.
So if I, let's say, live in the Northeastern United States and I need to find somebody like you, Michael, and by the grace of God, I was introduced to you, a referral of a referral, but I wouldn't know where to start. What do I Google to try to find somebody like you? Is it environmental expert? Is it, I mean, what is it?
You're looking for a licensed mold consultant.
Licensed
Okay. That's
mold
what you want.
consultant.
A licensed mold consultant. When you get into other states, I don't know because I don't know their licensing requirements, but in Texas, you definitely want to be working with licensed consultants and licensed remediation contractors. Okay.
Understood.
And I have those that we've worked with just because they're licensed. I wouldn't recommend them to anybody.
Right.
They try to cut too many corners. They don't follow the protocols. And
So look
the
at
reason,
referrals, Google reviews, all the
oh
things.
gosh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Google's wonderful. Yeah, that's what you need.
Okay, something else I want to ask you about. How can people prevent mold growth in their homes in the first place? What are some tips?
Moisture. I mean, prevent it, you really can't. Because mold, I mean, unless you're walking around weekly and looking under all your cabinets
Right.
and you've got a
Which
moisture
I
meter,
am.
yeah.
Which I
Or
am, but
you go up in your attic, you know, it's going to happen because things will break. Houses settle, roofs leak, pipes will burst. I'm going to give you one. We're still working on this one,
okay.
and because the mystery is still going. Very nice neighborhood, very nice home, custom built,
Okay.
sold it, and they're getting ready to close on it. And she was taking pictures off the wall in the basement. And then when she took the picture down, she noticed a circular discoloration behind the pictures all down the wall.
Okay.
And she goes, that doesn't look right. And they were closing the next day. She calls me in a panic going, I think, and I go, okay, look, I can come look, but I can't give you a definitive answer
Until I test.
in that period of time.
All
But
right.
we'll go look.
Okay.
And I went, and I ran my moisture meter, and oh yeah, I mean that whole wall, top to bottom.
And it was the seller that saw this. The woman
Yes, and
selling the house. Okay.
she wanted to let the buyer know that, hey, this is a potential problem. She already assured them, and I had to assure the realtor about licensing and the whole bit. And the buyer will end up with a CMDR. The
Mhm.
seller is going to take care of all costs related to the remediation. But so I went, I said, yeah, I'm 99% sure with the moisture and the discoloration, we have a mold issue. They pushed the closing off, brought in Jared. I know you know Jared. Works with me. He's got 16 years as a consultant. And when I have those projects that kind of throw me off a little bit, they're not just bread and butter, cut and dry. I
Right.
bring in him with his experience. He's really, really good. And so it's in the basement area. And we went upstairs and we have moisture levels in the floor in the bathroom and the kitchen. Okay. We brought in
Moisture
plumbers,
levels of what? Of
higher elevated moisture levels in the floor. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And what do you want what is normal? Like, is it a 2?
8%.
Is it a 10? Okay,
Everything.
8% moisture is
Everything's
normal.
under 10%. Everything. Isn't it crazy?
Okay.
Your drywall is wet. The floors are wet. But when it goes over 18 to 20%, the moisture meters will beep and you've got elevated moisture.
Okay, that is so great to know because as a layperson listening to this podcast, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a moisture meter and I'm going to go
Oh, there
check
you
my
go.
house.
Yeah.
But I want to know that if it's 8%, under 10%.
No, they're the new ones now, you set it to what you want as far as type of material.
Okay. Oh, yes.
You set it
Drywall,
you
wood.
set it on a dry wall that you don't have a concern with, and it's going to say, okay, 8%.
Mhm.
Now you're set, you've calibrated. Now you just start running it over areas and floors and walls. All of a sudden it go beep, and you'll look down and it's maybe 23%. She was up to 28% moisture levels in her walls in the
Okay.
basement.
All right.
So
Wow.
we looked at that. She brought in plumbers, couldn't find anything. They scoped her pipes, couldn't find anything. Slab, Couldn't find anything wrong with the slab. So we have an issue, but we cannot find where the moisture's coming. We know it's there. We've proven it. But as of yet, we can't figure out how the moisture's getting in. So it's
Ugh.
really, we'll get there. We'll figure it out.
Well,
But
we'll, stay tuned. Let us know. Keep us
I'll
posted.
let you know where we find. She even had floor plans of the build of the house. So we saw exactly
Where
where the
everything is.
basement was in relation to the outside. And typically basements are maybe like the other house I told you about was straight up, moisture coming in, flowed down, it's in the basement. Okay. Her basement is isolated in the center of her home. It's not an outside wall. So the
Mm,
only way the moisture can get in there, it's got to be flowing in from someplace within the house.
wow.
Yet
How
they
long have
haven't
you been
found it yet.
working on that?
Couple weeks. This
Okay.
week they're taking the drywall off the walls in the basement, which will open it up for us so we can come back at no charge to the customer to continue the mystery, to find
Okay.
out, because it's not going to do us any good until we find out where that moisture is. So
Uh,
it's
well,
always
I
makes
definitely want to know how this turns out. So we'll be doing
sure.
a follow up with you. On that same note, you shared the story about the woman with the plants.
Yeah.
That's so remarkable. And I love sharing these stories because there's somebody that's listening that's like, oh my gosh, my house is full of plants. Like perhaps that's it.
Well,
Can you
don't
share?
freak out though. As you know, don't freak
Stay
out.
calm.
If you're
Don't
not,
panic.
if you're not having any health issues,
Right.
love your plants, hug them. It's fine. It's that
Great
small
point.
group, like yourself. I had a former employee. He was the best mold thing I ever had. All I had to do is walk him into a house, and it,
All
it was
right.
there. He lit up immediately. We knew we had a problem. Now we just had to go
Yes.
find it.
They
Me, I don't mold doesn't bother me at all.
Well, thank
Sorry.
goodness for that. It
Yes.
does bother me, and I had a
Yes.
gentleman tell me actually say, "Hey, can we hire you? You are a what we call a bloodhound."
Yes.
And I
You're a
said,
bloodhound.
"Bloodhound?" And it's true because I remember I had started to recover. I was about 5, 6 months out, and I went to a building. I hadn't been out too much. I was still really slow to recover, but I went to an old building. It had been kind of refurbished, if you will, and it was a beautiful like linens company. So I went to look at some linens, and I was in there for about 10 minutes. And within 10 minutes, my side started hurting, my nerves started burning, my
Mhm.
vision, and I thought, oh my gosh, everything is coming back. I didn't think anything about it. I went and got my car. 2 hours later, everything is just going. I'm like, I am regressing. I'm not moving forward. What is happening? I'm having a relapse. And then a couple days later, I realized that was an old factory. There's probably mold throughout. And as soon as I was in there, within 10 minutes, everything came
Mhm.
rushing back.
Yep.
And it took me
Yep.
several days. I had to level up my detox and all of that. But it is no joke. And if you're sensitive to it, it can really wreck your world. So that's what I wanted to ask you is do you have where like me where I called you I was very sick, what is one of the worst cases you've seen when it comes to mold?
Sorry. You're out there. I mean, you were very, very sick. I mean, but because of you, we're here today to help the other people.
Right.
And I can look back and go, that's what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
client didn't know it, but they were talking about these different symptoms and all these other things. We corrected the problem. They're fine now. But now we're more sensitive moving forward. Okay, this was last week in Turkey, Texas.
Okay.
He called us. He's in the hospital here in Lubbock right now
Oh wow.
because of the mold in his home. He's hospitalized. Okay. Only because someone said, you probably need to have your home checked out. The doctor said, go have your home
Yeah.
checked out. And I think that's, again, I think we alluded to it earlier. More and more doctors are saying, hey, this is a logical, let's rule this out. Let's just
Right.
rule this out.
Well, that's why I'm doing this. Like you said, I went to 15 plus doctors. I'm married to a physician. We couldn't figure anything out. And there was just one symptom on top of another, on top of another. And I was getting sicker and sicker because I was just hanging out and breathing in the mold just because I
Did,
worked
uh,
from home.
did anybody in the extended family kind of go, you're nuts? Or did they
Oh, yeah.
question you?
Uh, well, everybody questioned me.
Because I've got another story, but same thing to the point that her close family said, "Oh, it's all in your head," because she'd
Yeah.
been to the doctors and everything. And again, yay, another successful story. We got her fixed too. But it all starts with a phone call. It doesn't cost you anything to pick up the phone, discuss your issues. I'm not charging you by the minute. It's just let's
Right.
talk
Well, and
about.
I was panicking when I called you, and you did. You said, "Let's take a beat and walk me through this." Okay, we can get out there. We'll do an evaluation, and then we'll get into this. And it was very, there was a process, step by step. But yeah, I mean, it is a process, and fix the environment that you're in, and then your health will follow. And it
Oh
is
yeah,
not a quick fix. It is not a quick fix. I'm just now about 12 months out,
mm,
and I still have, a rough patch here and there, but there were lots of days where people were saying I was crazy. It was all in my head. They were looking for dementia, Alzheimer's, stroke, cancer, brain
hmm
tumor, all of these things. And, a year before then, I had been just thriving professionally as a mom and my health just rocking and rolling. But that mycotoxin level from the
hmm
continued mold
it's the
exposure
mycotoxins. Yeah, it's the
just took
mycotoxins. It
over.
all it all boils down to them. It's those molds that are producing. Not all molds produce mycotoxins. It's
Right.
it's your Staphybotrys, it's your penicillin, your Aspergillus. But those are the ones. Now you mentioned a moment ago that occasionally you may have a bad day. Or okay, well, do you wonder why? Because you exposed again somewhere in your daily world, walking from point A to point B. Unless you isolate yourself in the house and never go outside, you're going to be exposed to elevated moisture level. I mean, elevated mold levels.
Yeah.
And that's why, oh, I have a bad day. It's never going to go away. You know this, but
Yes.
don't live in it. Don't live in your little enclosed box that's sealed with very little fresh air. It's just the same air over and over and over. And that air gets sick, you're going to get sick, and you're going to
Yep.
stay sick until we get the air clean again, or as clean as we can get it.
Couple questions for you on what's your take on dehumidifiers?
Yes and no. Dehumidifiers, good, because they're going to dry the air out. Okay, it's just what it does to you. What we need moisture. Our lungs need moisture. It's the temperature is going to affect the humidity up and down. The dehumidifiers work. What's the first thing that if you have a wedding event, wetting, not wedding, you're not getting
Okay.
married, wedding event.
Thanks, play right. Okay.
If you can get it dried out within 24 to 48 hours, you're not going to have a mold issue.
Right.
Right. And the first thing they do is they come in with their fans and dehumidifiers to get the air dry and get it dried out. So,
Okay.
yeah, dehumidifiers are fine, but I wouldn't want to live, 24/7, in low humidity.
Can you speak to ozone in the house?
No,
Okay.
got me. Another one.
Okay.
You want me to look that one up? The plants that consume mold and then ozone.
Yeah. Because there has been some talk about bringing in a ozone machine.
hmm
We did not do that, but I have heard of people bringing in an ozone machine and just curious your take on that. So again,
No,
we'll do a follow up on that.
don't know it. Sorry.
What are some questions that folks should ask their mold expert before hiring them?
Licensed? Are you licensed by TDLR? Again, Google. Can't beat Google, but you're asking me, how long you've been doing it, what's your experience level,
Right. Yeah.
that kind of thing. In preparation for this, you asked me how I got into it. I fell into it. But you and I were discussing the fact that way, way, way back when I went to college, I was a pre-med major. So I have this underlying, I want to help people.
Right.
Okay. And I got into this seeing it one way and then found out it's much more towards what I want it to be as far as fulfilling because it helps people. Sorry, asbestos isn't helping anybody. We're just going to get rid of it, get it out of your way. So people, contrary to that, I want to make it an asbestos program, but contrary to popular beliefs, the average person is not going to be exposed to enough asbestos to cause them any problem in their lifetime.
Okay.
Mold is totally different. So when I got
Yeah.
into mold and found out, wow, we are changing lives. I don't want probably for you, you think of it as it saved your life. Well,
I
that's pretty cool.
100% did. If I had been in that house and we'd not been able to connect the dots, if you guys didn't find that mold because y'all came out once initially and we looked and we're like, "Oh, we think we're okay." And I was like, "No, there's more." And that's then you're asking, "Where's their water leak?" Well, yes, there was a water leak and we put it together. But if I had stayed in there with that mold and not been remediated,
Mhm.
I mean, I was deteriorating so quick.
Mm.
I don't know where things would be. And look, my husband was also ill. He had different host of symptoms, and our little boy was sick. But we thought my husband had long COVID, and we thought my little boy was just like, kind of like, okay, he's a boy and he's 7 and these are growing pains and stuff. But now we put the pieces together, leading with me that I was so sick. And then our doctor said, hey, you need to test your husband, test your children. And, we connected the dots. There was mold in the home. We had this genetic predisposition. And now the home is remediated. We're, in much, much better health, all of us. So you all absolutely played a role in our recovery. And like I said, my children called you guys the mold detectives, and you were
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely that. And I have had to call on y'all since, you would new build after new build. It's amazing. And the stories that come out from people and that idea of, oh, if you live in an old home, you have mold. We're debunking that because
Mhm.
it's these newer homes that we're seeing this
Are
uptick.
more problems in the newer ones than the old ones. Old ones have it too, but far more in newer builds,
Yeah,
within the last 10 years.
remarkable.
The trouble with your mycotoxins and mold in general is that your symptoms for some people are very common. It's allergy season. I've got a
Right,
cold. It's my throat, my this or this. Okay, but that should go away. Okay.
right.
Seasonal allergy should not be 365 days in a row. This is where the alarm bells should start going off, going, maybe there's something I'm going on here. The symptoms don't have to be as severe as yours. But if you have symptoms like hay fever or allergies or runny nose or coughing, and it never goes away,
Then start
maybe you
maybe
didn't need to
asking
go to the
questions.
doctor, but maybe you should pick up the phone and just talk to us. Let's talk about this. How long you been experiencing this? Have there been any water leaks? Call us. Call us.
Okay, so that leads me to ask this. If someone wants to get in touch with you, our listeners, regardless of where they are, could potentially benefit from a conversation with you. So, how can people find you? Do you have a website? Do you have a phone number? Do you have an email? Share that with us
Okay. The
so folks know where to
and
find
and
you.
and and we get the calls. We will go anywhere we need to go as long as you can afford it. So it's not just, I'll go to Dallas Fort Worth. So we'll go wherever. But the phone number is 806-78 MICHAEL at G dash environmental. The A environmental runs all together. And
Okay.
the website is g-aenvironmental.com. And
Okay.
all the services that we provide, asbestos, mold, and lead. We also do lead testing.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Well, this is so helpful, Michael. I appreciate your time and expertise. And, I imagine you will be getting some phone calls because we're working with folks that are just starting to investigate. Perhaps they're sick from mold, folks that are in it. I know a gal that, God bless her family has been taken advantage of by remediation company.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's bad ones out there.
yeah, so we want to help people get better here. And the end goal is it took me 11 months to put the pieces together to start to heal. And I want people, if they're considering, could this be mold illness, that we are able to shorten that time for them putting the pieces together and getting on the road to recovery because it is possible with folks helping them, such as GA Environmental.
Let me also interject this as a cautionary tale.
Please do.
The customer doesn't know I've got mold. I've seen it. And the first thing they do is they call the remediation company. If the remediation company comes out and gives you a price without the consultant, run because it's
Okay.
not the way it's supposed to be. If they're reputable, they will refer you to the consultant. Okay. You see the difference?
To set
And
forth the protocol that they do.
uh-huh. There are remediation companies right here in Lubbock that will go out and tell you how much it's going to be. How do they know? They don't have a protocol. And if you get
Right.
that, no, it is protect the customer, the consumer. That's why TDLR licensed us is to protect consumers. So if you get that, say thank you very much, call a consultant first.
Call
Okay?
call Michael Otto at
There you
GA
go. Thank you.
Environmental.
Yes.
Well, Michael, thank you again for your time and sharing your expertise and your stories and your knowledge in this space. I truly appreciate it.
My
And
pleasure.
do keep us posted. We'll want follow up on those 2 items we discussed so I can share that with my followers.
Sure. We will. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The I Mold You So podcast with Katie Buckland Weiss.